Did you see? Did you hear? Did you know? Did you see? Did you hear? Did you know? Say what? Say what? Say what? Say what? Say what?
Welcome back, everybody. Oh my God, it has been so long. I am super excited to all of my chameleons. Thank you for rocking with me. Whether this is your first time or you've been rocking with me from day one, thank you for all of your support to the branding company. Thank you for being the engine behind this machine. And to Whitfield, thank you for such a dope song. It is so fitting to me and to this podcast, and I am super excited because I have some very special guests here with me today. I have my dad, Poppy Davis, the patriarch of the family. He is going to be here pretty much taking over this whole podcast because he is just so full of wisdom, and we just can't wait to hear what he has to say. And we actually have the branding company here. My sister Raisin Brand is here. She's gonna be representing the millennials, right? And then I also have my cousin brother here, Isaiah, who also has a lot to say, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say. So it's going to be super dope. And we even have Zanaya here, who is 13? 14. Who is 14 years old, and she's going to chime in too, but we don't really have like a topic. We're just going to be having like round table talk, right? And we're just going to be talking about just current events, right? Things about the past, things of the future. And I'm just super excited. So please, ladies and gentlemen, buckle your seatbelts because it is going to be a ride. All right, so we have some questions. Even though we don't have just like one topic that we're going to talk about the whole time, we have different questions that we're going to answer. And we each have a voice. We each have our opinion, and we're all going to meet in the middle somewhere, right? And we may agree to disagree, but it's all love. So the first question is, which is very good, why is one of the ways when it comes to measuring wealth, why does it have to be measured by materialistic things? Who wants to go first?
I think that it's just natural to associate wealth with materialistic things because most people assume that you have to have money to at least own them, whether you have it or not, whether it's real or not. They see, Gucci, Chanel, Birkin, they assume you have money. I don't think that it should define if you have money, but most times people just assume you have money when they see these things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have these things, they assume that you don't have money.
Right.
And chances are you have more money than the person wearing those things.
Sometimes.
And I believe that it is what it says it is. It's a measurement of how well you're doing. It's a measurement of stature in your community or in the business world or wherever you are in the world. And it's outwardly because you could see it, And I believe that came from being conditioned that way, that to measure how well you're doing, people had to see it and not necessarily know that. You might own a whole bunch of land or whatever that they don't see, but they would see your flashy car, they'd see your flashy pocketbook. And because of that spurred the industry that you were purchasing from to create even more or even better. So you would spend even more money. So I believe it was a condition or a state of mind so that people could see outwardly if you were doing very well or you had money, they could see it right up front.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And I mean, as we stated before when we talked, but sometimes it could be a little shallow to think like that, but that's what people are attracted to, right? And people feel like, okay, if this is what you're showing me, this is a money symbol, right? So evidently you know how to make money. So whatever you have to say, I'm going to listen because you look like you have money. So, and I think like for us, like we weren't always accustomed to having luxurious things, right? So now that we have the opportunity to have these things, we want to enjoy these things. And I think it's okay, but I don't like the fact that sometimes people say, well, you can't have both, right? Just because I have a Gucci bag doesn't mean I don't have real estate. Like we always assume, well, not always, but people assume that you don't have assets,
Right.
right? But it could be that your assets are paying for your liability. So how you're showing that you have these assets are through materialistic things, because you're not going to walk around with your bank balance on your forehead or deeds in your pocketbook. So I think it's okay. But am I going to look twice at a woman that walks by me with a Gucci bag or a Chanel bag or a Birkin? Absolutely, because that's attractive, right? It's all about what you see. So that's just my take on it.
I think that conversation too for millennials happens from social media, because you got all these
Absolutely.
Instagram models, you have these celebrities, and then they carry all these Birkins. And remember the whole thing about like, oh, it's a fake Birkin, it's a used Birkin or something like that. So I think that's where that stems from, because a lot of people who I guess get blasted for wearing materialistic things and they still live at home with their parents in the basement, or they sleep on blowout beds or something. Just that whole conversation about it, I think that plays a part in it too.
And I think that social media dictates so much of millennial people's lives.
Absolutely.
Like we see a rapper or a rapper girlfriend do this, you're not the it person if you don't do it too. Like if Cardi B got a Birkin, if everybody in Jersey don't have a Birkin, nobody's on. Like nobody is it. Like nobody's doing the right thing if they're not doing what every celebrity is doing.
Right.
And that's backwards. Like
It is backwards.
and social media has ruined that for us. Like 30 years ago, we didn't know what celebrities was doing. You had to go look in the magazine.
Right.
And that was probably one picture of them for the whole
The
month.
Source magazine.
Now we
Yep.
know what they're doing every day.
Every moment, if they allow us
Like
to
that's
see
a
that.
bit dangerous.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point, because for me, it's always been that way. Just that social media has put it on steroids,
Right.
Absolutely that.
because
Right.
you did know at some point what certain celebrities wore, or the type of bag they like to carry, or
Right.
the kind of shoes they want to wear. But because of, to your point, social media has allowed people, anybody that goes on social media, because these celebrities even want to be exposed even more.
Right.
They let you into their houses, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So, to your point again, I think you're absolutely right. And for me, it's always been that way. It's just on steroids now.
Right. And how do we don't even know if this stuff is like real.
That
Like
they
these
have.
celebrities may not even have this stuff. This could have been stuff that they stylists just picked for them.
And they
And they
just
took
took
a
a picture.
in it and sent it back like, oh no, I didn't like that. But they on Instagram with it.
Right.
Now you think that if you don't own everything they own, you not on, and they don't even own it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It can be like
So we
an illusion
assume that
to
the
a
celebrities have
sense.
money because they have all of the.
the designer things, the materialistic things.
The things that cost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So are we saying that celebrities play a part?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. When Nicki
Indirectly
Minaj wore those
and
Crocs,
directly.
those pink Crocs, they sold out. But like I thought Crocs were what you wear around the house. Like,
She was in her house. She was in her driveway.
but they sold out.
Maybe they gonna wear it in the house. But Crocs have, like, before Nicki's thing was like less than a month ago. But Crocs have had a boom in like the last year, like since the pandemic.
Yeah, but the pink color didn't sell out.
That's-
All of a
that's her
sudden,
impact.
so I'm just saying that to answer Brandy's question. Like,
Yeah, they do play a
absolutely,
part.
they do play a
Absolutely.
part.
Directly and indirectly. Like some of them probably don't mean to do it. Like
Right.
she could have just been wearing those Crocs could have been a year old.
Right.
She could have been wearing them.
that
Right.
Right. She could not have meant to promote that, but it
Because it was
did.
her.
Exactly. But some celebrities definitely do wear stuff because they know it's gonna take off. Some
Yeah, and I'm sure they
definitely do
get kickback. I'm
Right.
sure they get kickback
it. right.
on it.
They
Yeah.
have to.
Yeah. So we measure success by materialistic things, of what we see.
And it's wrong.
I think it's wrong too, especially if you have a female who has a whole bunch of designer. Then you have some girls like, well, she didn't buy it herself. She got a sugar daddy, or her man bought that for her, or X, Y, and Z. It's like, why can't a woman be independent and buy her own stuff? Why is it that a man has to buy those things?
Why is that stigma attached to a successful woman, especially a black woman?
Right.
Like, especially a black woman. Why can't we just be out here getting it ourselves? Like, why do we always have to have a sponsor?
Right.
I don't like that.
But it's been that way. That's why it was so easy to perceive it that way, because
most times
young black women were not doing what these women are doing today. These women have their own businesses. They buy whatever they want to buy as long as they can afford it. But for a time, it wasn't like that. Whatever they got as far as those things was concerned, their man did provide it for them, or they did something else to provide it for themselves. But I'm saying,
the world
it's a little more common now because the world is changing to where black women can be independent and not depend on their man or a man, period, to obtain these things.
Right.
And I like it because, it makes them independent. And, they can go out here and create businesses and do everything that we're doing. I just think that it's good for the world that they have an opportunity to go out here and add to what's already being done and make it better and inspire other young women that may have one day had a dream to do that, but no one ever showed them or let them see that.
Right.
And now it's so common, I believe that most of these young ladies can believe that now and go out there and try to get it.
So, Dad, you bring up a good point when you say you like for them to be independent, because this is a big deal. Because some men will say they want their woman independent, but not too independent. So when you say independent, kind of talk about that a little bit. What do you mean independent? You like a woman to be independent?
I say independent because she can do her own thing and it doesn't affect the family. Right. To where she neglects certain things that's expected of her and that she knows for herself has to be done no matter what she's doing. But I think sometimes when you get focused in your career or whatever endeavor you are embodied in, you can forget about these small things that mean a lot and could turn whatever you're doing into nothing because you've lost sight of what was really important. So the fact that women are independent, and a lot of them have to be because they're out in the workforce now, they don't sit at home and wait for their husbands to bring home the money and then it gets distributed however they need to do it. They're involved to the point where they bring home money too. And like I said, it can allow them to be independent when things don't work out and they have to be on their own. They already know how to do it with money as opposed to not having any money because they didn't work or what have you.
So, good points, Dad. So, is there something as being, like, for a woman, is there something as being too independent? Is that a such thing for you?
Yeah, to a degree. But I only can speak for myself. I can't speak for all the other men out there in the country. When I speak for me because that's what I think and what I feel. But maybe some guys out there feel like I feel, and if they don't, that's fine because everybody feels the way they feel because of what they have experienced in their life and what they've come to believe for themselves.
So what's too independent for you, Dad? Not that you're going to have a girlfriend, but...
If I'm married,
oh my goodness,
or even with a girlfriend, too independent is showing me that you don't even need me around.
So what would that be? What does that look like when somebody acts like they don't need you around? What does that look like?
They never ask you for anything.
So that's too independent for you.
Too independent.
So what is her needing you? What does that look like? Like asking you for money or asking you to take her out? Like what is that?
Yeah, stuff like that. Little simple things. Nothing really major. I mean, don't forget now, she's independent because she works and she can manage her own money the way she might want to manage it. Because, I don't know if all women, even though they're doing what they're doing, they still believe that they're still one. And whatever they bring into the house goes into the pot.
So not too independent, huh? So you want them to ask you for money?
Not necessarily. I mean,
but you can buy her gifts,
but yeah,
though.
I would want to buy her. I mean, she could say, listen, she could ask me, you know what? Even if she can afford it herself, she might say, you know what? I want that Gucci bag. Or,
Dad, you ain't buying no woman no Gucci bag. Let's
Or
get
maybe
that straight.
It's not a
We ain't
money
doing
thing.
that.
Maybe it can be, I guess, too independent can mean like the window broke in the house, and instead of her going to him to ask,
She just
him,
called
Right.
to get it
just
fixed.
Exactly.
So
That's
she's
too
the
independent.
handyman, she's the
But that's
chef, she's the everything. She can fix the tires.
Like,
Or the
Something,
grass need to
right.
be cut, and she just
So
called
she out
the
there
people
riding
to
the
come.
damn lawnmower.
Or
That's a
she
big
just
mug.
just
That's
called
a
the,
big
the,
mug.
the landscaper.
Right.
Okay, so then what would my role be?
Right.
Right.
When,
What am
when
I to do?
historically that was expected of the man.
Right.
That
Those
sounds
certain
like a
things that
game.
they
It
just-
sounds like double dutch. Like instead of like she ain't waiting for the man to jump in when the rope is turning. Like she just gonna get it
You
done.
just go ahead and get it done.
But I don't know if that's. I don't know. They're too independent.
But
I don't
let me
know.
tell you what I think. I think independence is attractive. Like, I don't like nobody needy.
Some men don't like that though.
I don't like nobody that's needy. Like, I don't want you to need me. I want you to want me. I want you to be able to handle everything on your own, and at the end of the day, you still want me.
Yep.
That's way more attractive than I need you to do this. Like, if I lose both my legs and I'm paralyzed, what we gonna do now? Because you still need me. To
Right,
do
because you
things.
solely dependent
On
upon me.
If I gotta go away on business for 2 weeks and I come home and the house is upside down because you needed me,
Right.
that's not attractive to me.
So that goes back to that. That's how you raise your girls. But some men, a lot of men don't appreciate that.
And they don't like that.
And they don't like that.
Like Isaiah said, it has to be a want, not a need.
Right.
If I have somebody and I feel like I need them, when they leave, I'm stuck.
Yeah.
But if I have everything and if he leaves tomorrow and I can still
The show's
stand on
still
my
gonna
own,
go on.
That's a
with
beautiful
or
thing.
without him, like you would want somebody to want you
Absolutely.
opposed to needing you.
But
But like I still like, don't get me wrong, I still understand what he was like, what you're saying about the window. Like, you still, it's some things that I would want my wife to do, and there's some things I would want her to want me to do. But I still would like you to be able to be self-sufficient.
in function.
Exactly.
Even if I wasn't
You shouldn't need
around.
me to function. I shouldn't be your oxygen.
So
That's
it's a
scary.
submissive thing.
But I go back to what I always go to. It's conditioning. You know, a lot of men might not like that because they were conditioned that way to have the wife depend on them solely for everything.
But you raised me the opposite.
Because I saw that was no good at some point. It was no good.
It
It
is.
wasn't working in my eye. And like I said, I only can speak for me. And the world is changing every day. Women are a lot more formidable than they used to be. You know, they're out here doing everything a man does. And sometimes, I hate to say this, but they even do it better than we do.
It's true.
So I just believe that, you know, at some point they have to learn to be independent. They just have to, because this world is not the same. The men are not the same guys that I was coming up with. They're different. These guys don't want to work hard sometimes and go out here and provide and do the things that are
Woo,
necessary
you better
in
preach.
a family. Like, I hate to say it, I really do, but I can't lie to myself on what I see.
Right.
So if somebody is going to marry my daughters, if they can't take care of them, then I don't want them to marry them. I just don't.
That's right.
That's it. It's a period behind it, as they say. There is no more small print. It's over.
Right.
But you
And
make it hard, Dad.
I don't make it hard. They make it hard. We make it hard.
But what is the thing when some guys say, well, I'm not your father?
Same thing that a man would say, I'm not your mother. I mean, about the mother thing.
So that's what I'm saying. Like,
It's certain things
it's
what
certain things. Like, what is
that
the
they feel like
line
between boyfriend and
and
father.
father? Because you spoiled me. So now when I get into
Still to this day.
still to this day at 28 years old, I feel like if you can't take care of me like my father take care of me,
I don't
then
need
I don't need you. I don't need
What
you.
do
I don't want
need
you.
for?
Right.
But if that's what you're saying, you shouldn't be saying that. because-
But
That's
it's
what
the
I'm
truth.
saying.
I
So
say it.
that's what I'm
But
saying.
there's no
Where's the
comparison there
line?
because there's a different relationship.
Right.
You can't compare the relationships to the point where he has to behave the same way I do.
But
You're
if
my
that's what
child.
that's how you raised us and that's what we're
Because I
accustomed
wanted the
to.
best for my
So that's what we
daughters.
want.
Okay, and then I want you to be with a man that will try to provide that for you.
But that's what I'm saying. You make it hard because
That's what
these
I'm
guys
saying. But
they
you saying I can't be that way. So where is the line that's driven? If I go to my husband and say I want a car and he say no, I ain't buying you no car, I ain't your daddy, then it's like
Well, that's on him.
That's his fault.
And then I go and ask my dad for a car, and he buy me the car. It's like, what do I need my husband for?
Right.
Exactly.
So that's what I'm saying.
Or if every time you get into a rut and you got a man at home, but you always got to go to your father, what do I need the man for?
Something is wrong.
What do I need the man for?
So is it a me thing, or is it?
It's a them thing.
Or is it a them thing?
But I see that in myself too. Like, I like independent women because my mother was very independent.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were married. My mother didn't wait on my father for anything. My mother cooked, cleaned, moved furniture.
That's
paint,
a Davis woman thing. That's
everything on her own.
Mm-hmm.
What my father did was a bonus. My mother could do anything.
Exactly.
Anything.
Everything they bring to the table is an additive. Like, if I want to paint or whatever, I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. If you want to help, you can help. But my father always told me, if you got to ask a Negro twice, it sounds like you begging. You ain't got to ask him twice for nothing.
He heard you the first time.
Right. And if he can't provide or if he can't, then forget about him. Like, it's so many words. Forget about him. So it's like, Dad, you make it really hard.
I wasn't trying to make it hard.
I know you was, and it's not a bad thing. It's a great
problem
thing
with the world, not with us.
Right? It's a them thing.
They not raising their kids right.
It's a them thing.
Raise y'all sons right.
Right. It's a them thing.
It's a them thing, and Dad, I really thank you for that because that saved me probably from a lot of disappointments, from a lot of relationships. Like, but then at the same time, you got to think about it, like, I didn't grow up with you living in a house with me. So a lot of, like, you would buy me things, you would take me shopping for school, buy me Christmas, like all of that stuff. Right. So that's how I feel like one of the ways a man shows me he loves me is buying me things. So if you don't buy me, right? So if you don't buy me stuff, you don't love me. Like, bottom line, I'm serious.
I don't know.
Like, Dad, what have I ever asked you for that I didn't get? What did I ever ask you for that I didn't get?
I don't keep track.
Nothing. Like, so if a man don't buy me something, he don't love me.
I think that's okay though. Everybody has different love languages, and that's
all
just
five
the way,
of them are mine. All of them are mine,
and that's okay.
But the buying part, the gifts, that's number one.
That's
definitely number one because I kind of feel like my dad tried to overcompensate because he wasn't there.
Then you just deserve somebody that can sustain that.
Can you say it louder?
You deserve somebody that can sustain that.
I'm praying on it. It's coming.
Okay. To say this, Dad, you're the problem. You raised two spoiled brats
because
I'm
walk
40 and think they don't need a man for nothing.
Because if you don't do it, my daddy gonna do it.
And I say that all the time.
You said no. Next.
Okay, right.
I'm calling my daddy and telling my daddy what you didn't do.
Exactly, Dad.
So she can do it because he ain't gonna have no problem.
Right, Dad. Let me tell you what just happened.
That ain't no problem. That ain't no problem.
Let me just tell you what happened.
And Daddy gonna be like, he did what?
I wanted to get my car. The car got now, and I told Dad, and I was like, Dad, I want you to go with me. He was up here. We went and got that car, didn't we? Yeah. He rode around with me till we found that car. Like, I'm not about to be,
I don't think there's a problem with that.
I don't think so either.
I don't think so.
I think it's really good. And I think more men should raise their girls like that.
I think some guys can't handle it. That they get.
But why do you think some guys can't handle it? Is it their upbringing?
Is it their ego?
Both. It's part of it. They grew up looking at their mothers depending on their fathers for things, and also now they feel like when they get older, their wife is supposed to depend on them for things. They think, oh no, if I tell my wife she can't have that car, she's not supposed to have that car because my father told my mother she couldn't have that car.
Well, what if
she
they didn't have their father in the household?
That could also play a part. They could say, well, I don't know. They, like, my mother was independent, so she had to do it on her own. She didn't have a man to do this, so you should be the same way. You should just depend on me. I'm here now, so everything should be different. Mm-hmm. It shouldn't look like the way it did when I grew up.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I was the way I was, because I didn't like the way it looked.
Right.
Because I heard too many stories, and I've seen too many instances where when the man wasn't there, the women...
The show stopped.
Right,
yep.
They couldn't sustain themselves.
Right.
And then if they had kids, that made it even worse.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
The more independent they became, the better they were able to handle a crisis.
Right.
Like you said, like when you go out of town or something, whatever. I got sick and I can't work. They got to hold it down. And you want women that can do that and not be crying and think the world is ending.
It seems like that should be a compliment to you, though. Like, God forbid something happened to you, and then, you know, your family just go, because everybody was so dependent. Just fall apart because everybody was so dependent upon the man. Like,
But that was because society created it that way.
That's
it
so
was like
sad.
that way.
But men, we are supposed to be providers. We're supposed to do majority.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, you still want, like, even if, let's say I make $1 million a year, if my wife want to work, that's cool.
But if she don't, that's cool.
That's cool too.
Well, you could take it either way.
Yeah.
But when it is the role reversal and my husband can't work no more and I gotta hold down a fort, but then he's back healthy and then he don't want to pick up for where he left off.
That's wrong.
Like, where's the line drawn? Because I know in marriage is a partnership, and if he can't hold his end of the bargain, that's where the wife come in and she do it for both of them. But when does it end?
If you're saying that he was sick and then he was able to, he was fine again, then
he has to
his
go back to do
responsibility
it.
hasn't changed. Like, he still has to go out there and do his part.
But what if he
provide.
doesn't want to go back out there and do his
Then
part
there needs to
after
be a
he's
conversation.
been
Well,
sick?
then there's something
There has
wrong.
to be a conversation and there has to be
Something
some
wrong,
consequences.
because why would he even want to take advantage of his wife like that?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. Why is it so, like, I see it, like, online all the time where the men are okay with being home and having their wife out there.
Being house husbands.
Being house husbands. House dads. And
Now,
their wives is the one. Is that because the women are too independent?
No,
Don't
Or
get me
is it the
wrong.
men?
that's
If-
a hard one.
The men are
I'm
too
big on
interdependent.
I'm big on what works for you. If you like it, I love it. So if that's y'all setup, maybe, you know, she's not a good housewife and she's better in the workforce and he's a good house husband. He's not good in the workforce. If that works for you, then so be it.
Ooh,
But
that's tough.
not for me.
I think, like, if let's just say the woman, like, her income exceeds, right, and she's the breadwinner, and let her husband say, you know what, I want to go back to school, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. Like, if she's able to hold it down until he graduates, and like, that's okay.
Right.
But if you just flat out saying, oh no, I ain't going back to, like, no, like, you can't be a man or be the head of the house circumstantially. Like, if you're gonna be the man of the house, you're gonna be the head of the house. You gotta, like,
It's
it's
something
paid.
that comes with
You
that.
gotta pay to be the
It's set up
boss.
that way.
It costs to be the boss. Like, if you, then you're another child. She just got another child in the house.
Right.
Like, you have no say so in anything that goes on in the house. If I'm taking care, like, a whole man. Oh, absolutely not.
Well, that's your feeling about it. But
Absolutely not. I wasn't raised like that.
But the men are okay with the woman being head honcho.
They
Today.
so they get to sit at home and let the woman be out there doing
Like
what
Daddy
would
said, they
normally
different.
do.
These men,
Yeah,
they
these
different.
men are different.
They
I don't know what their upbringing was, because a lot of this is about upbringing.
Yeah. A
What
lot
you
of it
was
stems
taught,
back
what
to
you saw,
upbringing.
what you came to a conclusion in your own mind on how you were going to be out here in society with your family, your wife, or whoever. So I agree with Isaiah. Like, if it's a how do they say it? It's each person.
Right.
it's
Whatever
not a
works
for each
collective-
person.
collective thing.
Yeah.
It's just not. No matter how much society tries to tell you this is the way it should be, a lot
It's
of
not
people
gonna
don't
be
work
that.
that way
Yeah.
for them. It's not a one size fit all the time.
Yeah.
So that kind of, so maybe that goes to the next question. Why is it such an urgency to have a family and have kids? Because evidently he ain't ready. He's not ready to be a husband and a father. Like, he not ready yet. He don't have it together. If you okay with your wife going to work every day and you sitting at home,
You're not mentally ready.
you're
to
not
have a
ready.
kid.
You're not ready. So why is it such an urgency for us to get married and have kids when honestly, mentally, we're not ready? We, at an age, we may be an adult based on what the world says. At 21, you're considered an adult. 18, certain situations. But that doesn't mean mentally you are there, because mentally it still sounds like you're a child.
Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
be.
Right,
You very well
you've
can
met
be.
the age quota, but when it comes to being a responsible
Maturity.
adult, right, and being mature, you're not there yet. So why is it such an urgency, Dad? And you can answer. We all, But why is it such an urgency to get married and have kids? Like when I got married, you was like, when are the babies coming? Like, I'm ready to be a grandfather. Lord knows I ain't had nobody. And Quincy we ain't had no business having nobody kids. So why is it such an urgency to get married and to have kids?
I guess your generation on our generation. Because the old folks, when we go to events and we have our little
The baby
barbecues,
boomer generation.
it's always, when
When
you
you
get
gonna,
married, when you going to give us some babies? Like, why is that a thing?
Because we're now at that point in our life where we want to be grandparents.
But what if we're not ready to be parents?
Well, I would never try to force you to do something that you're not ready for. That wouldn't make any sense.
I know, but I mean, like, your generation. Like, don't you think it's a
Really,
little rude for your baby boomers to ask millennials, how come you not married yet? Why you ain't got no kids
Because
yet?
that was the expectancy.
Yeah, they
Created
don't look
not
at
by
it.
us.
They don't
It's
look
way I
at it
go
the way
back
we
into
look
how
at it.
society portrayed to you, you had to do a certain thing at a certain time or be a certain place at a certain
That's
time.
what we saying.
And the fact, to your point about once you became 21 in this country, you were an adult. But it never said anything else about responsibility, what kind of mindset you had. It only said that you were just considered an adult. And you know as well as I do, and this had nothing to do with our generation, that some people that are younger act older, and some people that are older act younger. They're not there mentally.
Right.
So why is it? But you don't know that looking at somebody. You just know that, okay, you all right. Let's say you graduate college. Now you need to get married. Okay, now you married. You've been married 30 days. All right, you back. When is the babies coming?
I'm saying, so this is another conditioning that
I think part of
the
it.
country has done to make you believe you have to do these things at a certain time to make other people happy.
So you say the country pushed it on your generation, and you guys are pushing it on us.
It was done before my generation.
I think part of it comes from health. Like, I think it's easier to have kids when you're younger. So some people may worry about your fertility, for women at least. Like, are you going to be able to have these kids in your 30s and 40s? It's easier in your 20s. I think that, like you said, society is just used to people having kids young. Like, people having kids older is just not normal.
It wasn't normal.
No, it's not the
But
norm.
it seems like I think you need to have yourself together. I'm not saying you need to be perfect, but being married is a lot of work.
I agree.
Is a lot of work. I got
and doing
married
it while you
young.
have kids is even harder.
When you add kids into it, because now let's talk about finances, right? Because let's just say you graduate college. Like I said, my first job was paying me $28,500, right? An engineer, fresh out of college, internship, 2 internships, everything. My student loan bill was $67,000.
Okay.
So that was double of my salary. How was I going to pay that? Now you got to have somewhere to live, right? So now get an apartment, get a townhome, right? That's even more debt. Okay, now you got to have a car, right? You got to have a reliable car to get back and forth to work. Okay, now, right?
Now you go on social media. You got to have a Birkin.
No, now you gotta
go
have
on trips.
kids. So
You
it's
gotta
like
do all this.
you never got a chance to really get yourself together because everything was going so fast. Okay, now you do this. Now you check that off the list. Now you got to check this off the list.
Like it was
But
pre-programmed.
I was like, you're
Not
never
even happy yet.
right. Like you don't even know yourself.
Yeah.
Like you don't really know what you like. You haven't even lived yet. Like now all the things that your parents were telling you, now those things are starting to come into fruition. Just a little bit though, just a glimpse, but now you've accumulated all of this debt. So how are you going to take care of a family? That's a lot of pressure to put on people to get married and have kids financially.
Yeah.
A lot of relationships break up because of finance.
That
Absolutely.
spurs
It's the-
another
it's the
topic
leading.
that we're not going to discuss, though.
What is that?
And that's the way the complex answer is formed. You have to put a lot of stuff into it. You know, who was that really favoring to be that way? Because it was okay to go to college and graduate college and find a job that could pay back your student loan and start a life. Or even have that provided for you without having to take out any loans at all. It's another conversation because it's much harder now to live like that than it was 30, 40 years ago.
So that goes into the American dream. Was that the American dream to
Yeah.
go to
The
college?
American dream is to go to college, find your soulmate in college, get married after you graduate, go back, get your master's, get
I
a
did
6-figure
that.
career job,
Did
buy a
that.
house with a white picket fence, and have 2 to 3 kids. That's the American
And
dream.
a dog.
Happily
And a
ever
dog.
after.
Work like a dog for 30, 40
40, 50
years,
years, yeah.
retire, and then travel the world. That's the American
But who
dream.
really gonna be traveling at 70 years old? You ain't gonna be traveling the world at 70 years old.
You're gonna
You
be
done
traveling.
seen everything.
You're gonna be traveling between your house and your kids' house to see about your grandkids. That's the traveling.
That's what
So what's the American? What is Dad? What was your American
It
dream?
was the way it was just described.
That
At least
was-
that's what it was portrayed to us.
Mm-hmm.
That you had to go. You had to go to college. It wasn't a choice.
Right.
You had to go to
Either college or the military.
Because of education, so that when you come out, you can get a good job
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and start a family immediately. And I say immediately, buy a house once you
Right.
got married,
Right.
which a lot of people cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
But at that time, that's the way they
They
laid it
sold
out
it
for
to
you.
you. Yeah.
And then start a family, have a couple kids or whatever, car obviously,
Mm-hmm.
and live happily ever after.
But you know the 1% of the population,
They don't go to college.
they don't even have college degrees.
But that's a small few.
Because-
compared to the
But I'm
overall
just
number.
saying
But
that's crazy.
But that's because they're not chasing what we're chasing. They're not chasing wealth. They got it. They was born into it.
But that's what I'm
We're
saying.
looking
Like,
to
what was
get it,
their
and
American
we're
dream?
told that that's the way to get it.
Right.
What was their American dream?
It's no
Exactly
American
what you
dream.
described.
Their
No,
dream.
that was their American
That's what
dream.
they did.
Because
That's
that
what they did.
technically is the American dream when you got money.
They did it and they lived it.
If you
and
wealthy,
and
you
they,
will have
it,
5
it
kids.
only takes one generation to change everything.
That's
Yeah.
gonna be us.
And their generation did it. They whatever their generation was in their family line did it already. So it doesn't have to be done from
It's
the
just
rest of them.
mapped out for you.
Right.
Even when they got
If
married,
we work
bought a
hard enough,
house,
our kids won't have to think about
families-
college. They just gonna
families
inherit
supported them, helped them
businesses,
buy the house.
property, and whatever else to keep them afloat.
If my kids want to go, absolutely.
But I'm not gonna.
But if
But
they
I'm not
don't-
gonna force it. No,
No.
if they don't want to go, I'm not gonna
And
force
that's fine
it.
too,
Mhm.
because they have the money to achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve.
Right, that $50,000 that you're gonna be in debt, I could give you that for a
A
business.
Yep.
And you could be a billionaire,
Right.
like Kylie Jenner.
Sure.
Like, she went to high school. She ain't
Mhm.
stepped foot in college.
Yep.
I don't regret going to college.
But she was
No, I don't
brought
regret it
into
either.
money.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
wish it was a way I could have
Done it for
done it for cheaper.
Right.
Yeah, and then went to grad school because they said, oh, if you go to grad school, you have a master's, you make more money. That ain't true. That is not true.
You make more money, but it's 10,000, 20,000 more.
But the
And it's-
taxes,
And the 10 or 20,000, what does it mean when it costs you 200,000 to do it?
right?
10,000 is nothing.
Nothing.
You're gonna get 10,000 more a year, but then you got 70,
But you
80,000
owe so
in
much,
student.
yeah,
Right.
you
Right.
owe so
You're not
much
even
on
gonna
top
see
of
that.
Right.
But it's like all of these conversations we are having now. I wish I would have been able to have these conversations 20 years ago. I would have done things totally
And we all would have
different.
done a lot of things differently
Totally
in our life.
different.
But you learn,
You live and
Yeah.
learn.
So give us some wisdom on that, Dad.
you just supply the wisdom for yourself.
All right, Dad. So I'm unmarried, no kids. Y'all say I'll travel every month.
But you wanted to travel.
What is
Every month.
I know. What is your advice to someone like me, as far as kids and marriage?
You have to determine when you're ready to do that.
But what if I'm never married?
I'm okay with that.
Then
Never
you never
ready.
do. Then you never do it. It's not a crime.
Are you
can
okay with
decide,
that?
I'm fine.
So what if I have kids and I'm not married?
So what? What about people that get married and divorced with kids?
So you okay with that, Dad?
I'm fine with it.
These ain't the same parents that raised us. This is not the same father that raised me. Who are you? Dad, who are you? You never told me that.
Yes, I did.
You said you are not going to be nobody's baby mama. You told me that when Fantasia had that song, this is your baby, something baby, you are not going to be nobody baby's mama. That is not how I'm raising my girls.
So I can be somebody.
So now the youngest one oh, whatever she do is fine, right? All the bets are off, right? With me, it was just trial and error, right? Couldn't kiss a boy, couldn't have a boyfriend, right? I went on a date. Daddy slept on the couch at grandma's house until I got back. He told me I better not walk in that door after 12 o'clock because nothing is open after 12 but legs in hospitals. And if I was in some type of car accident or sick, that I needed to be walking in that house before 12 o'clock. So I'm just trying to figure out how you gonna sit here and tell my baby sister that it's okay if she have kids and don't be married. Who are you?
We on the show. Come on.
Who are you? This is not the same man that married that raised me. Who is him? Who is he? Dad.
Yes.
Help me understand that.
It's a new time, right, Dad?
Yeah.
Hey, listen. I've
Look.
gotten the wake up call that this is just.
If
not
he
my
knew
time.
what he knows now, when you were Brandy's age, maybe things would have been different. He's more wiser. He's wiser now.
I've gained
He
a
knows
lot more
more.
knowledge over the
So
years.
I was trial and error.
I didn't say that.
Well, then how come the same rules don't apply?
But why wouldn't they, though? Really, honestly, why wouldn't they?
If you didn't want to be married and have kids and wanted to travel, he would have been okay with that.
No, I wouldn't.
Exactly.
So she had to get married and have kids?
No, she didn't have to do it.
But she had.
If
to
I
be
wanted to
married
have
before-
kids, I had to be married.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
And that's why I never had kids. Like I like you know, like a lot of my friends had kids in high school, college. Like it's that, like when you think about, like, people say love and respect. Mm-hmm. It could be the same, but it could be on two different levels. Do I love my father? Yes, but I respect him more. So I respected him because people can do things out of love. Like you could cheat on your wife or your husband and you love them. But when you don't have that respect, like it's the respect that I had for him, I was like, I will not have a baby in high school or college. Like I'm going to be married because that's the respect that I have for my father. Like I see people that cheat every day. They love their spouse, but they don't have any respect. So it's about the respect. So I'm just trying to figure out again, Dad?
The rule still applies.
Oh, okay.
So I gotta be married to have kids?
I think you should be, yeah.
That's a lot of pressure, Dad.
I'm sorry, Brand. And I'm going to tell you, like I told her, I don't want to be no one parent grandparent.
So he's saying he got two from me, so he's saying he want to have. See, that's the pressure I'm talking about.
At
No,
least a
see,
few
that's
more,
too much
like,
pressure.
A few
Because what
more.
if I don't see marriage and kids in my future? Or what if I just see kids and no husband in my future?
Next topic.
All right, let's move on. What do we have next? What is your American dream, Sanaya? Tell us what the future looks like for
Do
you.
you even have one?
What does the future look like for you? What would you like it to look like for you? Because you are the author. So what is it? What do you want it to look like for you?
Well, I don't want to have any kids or anything. I would like to be single or whatever. You know, do my own thing.
And what is your own thing? What is it that you want to be?
Do you want to travel?
Well, maybe
Yeah.
Maybe she's not even
Maybe
sure
she's
yet.
still figuring it out.
You're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's
that's
okay.
okay.
And that's totally fine.
Because it's better to just be figuring it out than doing something and later on you be like, I didn't want to do none of that
Right.
stuff. That was just I was
You
living
won't
for
have those
everybody
years-
else.
You won't have those years to start over again.
Right.
That's why
You don't want to live for anybody else.
Right.
Never feel pressured to do anything. Never. Because you'll regret it.
And if you want to understand what that looks like, there you go. Because he does what he wants to do, and he don't care. If unbothered was a person, it would
this
be.
man right here.
Just show about
I'm just saying that I wish I had
wanna
more
be
of that
bothered.
in me because you are unbothered. Like things don't bother you.
I would be richer. I would be at peace. I would If I could
I would just be
have
a better
half
person.
of the unbotheredness that he
Right.
has,
Maybe you
just
should
have.
sell it.
If I could
Tell
buy
us
it,
your
we'd all be
secret.
rich.
Yeah, we write a book.
Yeah, tell us your
We need-
secret,
I
Dad.
don't have a secret.
Yes,
Let's
you-
go to the next topic.
Contact Jay Whitmore for his song for his podcast, so he could tell us how to get like that.
Dad, that
You
should
would be the
be.
first to know.
Dad, you should get a podcast, and it should be unbothered.
Really?
Unbothered.
Yeah, because you are the unbotheredest
You think I
person.
can give a lesson on that?
You should
Absolutely.
give us some tips on it.
Absolutely.
But tell us what it took. What it took
to
for,
get there.
to get there.
You don't have enough time.
Well, just give us 3. Give us 3.
The next podcast, I promise.
You promise that?
I promise.
Okay.
And tonight is gonna be. You have to be my backup.
Ladies and gentlemen, oh my God, it was so much fun. I mean, so much fun. And I wish we could stay on here all day with you, but we cannot. We have to bring it to a close. Thank you to all of my special guests, to my dad, to my sister, to my cousin, and to our special guest, Sanaya. Thank you to all of my chameleons for tuning in. Thank you for all your love and support. As I said, if you were just listening for the first time, thank you. And if you've been rocking with me since day one, thank you again. We will be announcing our listener of the week on the next podcast. Don't forget that you must comment, tag us, and put it in your story, and you will get that $50 cash app. I love all of you. And remember, if you see someone that needs a smile, give them one of yours. Be blessed, everyone, and I look forward to the next time.